Right guys, you've asked for it. Now this week we're making Percher. You want to see how we made this and how we did it without using a Percher block. Keep on watching this video. Hi guys, it's John of JWH Millinery and welcome back to my channel. Before we go any further, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. It does help me out massively. There's a link down below, it says subscribe, just hit that button and you'll be subscribed to future videos. And if you're already subscribed, hit that notification bell and you'll be notified as soon as we release our videos in future. So this style of headwear we've seen massively in Australia. It's starting to come to the UK at the moment. It's not something I've seen a lot in the UK millinery scene. I've seen a lot of this style in a lot of the Australian race meetings so far this year. I think I first noticed it sometime last year, and this year definitely seen a massive trend in that Percher that sits right at the front of the head. It looks like it's floating on the head, and in this tutorial we are going to be learning how to make this piece. So for this piece we actually used the dimple presser as part of a saucer hat block, which you've probably seen on this channel before. We used it to form the shape of the 3D part of the hat. Now you can actually get the blocks, which are two-part blocks I believe, from Hat Blocks Australia. I'll link them in the description box below, and I'll also link any UK suppliers that do blocks which do this similar effect in the description box below. Also in this tutorial we'll be making a headband. Now this is the first time I've shown this on this channel, and actually this whole piece was the first time I've ever made anything like this. What you see in this video is actually me learning as you go along. Would there be things I would do differently? Yes. For example, I probably would make the piece a lot more smaller at the back because it does look quite bulky. However, I do like that. I mean, you know, everybody knows on this channel we don't necessarily do things like, you know, like the norm. We like to do things a little bit different. Don't forget, for those of you that are interested in my workshops, you can go to my website www.jwhmillinery.com, which will have all the workshops listed, and I'll be launching on Monday the 25th of September, all the dates and the times and the prices for each of those workshops. And actually Monday is my birthday as well, so make sure you follow me on all my social media and wish me a lovely happy birthday. So if you want to know how we actually made this piece, keep on watching.
So for this tutorial you're going to need the following: 1 metre of aqua Sinamay, half a metre of purple bias Sinamay strip, which is about 1 inch wide, 3 metres of purple grosgrain ribbon, about ½ inch wide, 5 metres of ribbon to cover the headband. We used about a 0.5 inch wide piece, 1 Fiona silk rose or any other silk rose, an Ostrich Pom, Coque Feathers, millinery elastic, spring wire and millinery wire. The equipment you're going to need are as follows: a dimple press from Hat Block FHBS01, saucer hat block from Hat Blocks Direct, some double-sided tape and some curved sewing needles. Start by covering the block in cling film and blocking 2 layers of the Sinamay over the block. Use steam to soften the Sinamay and block on the straight and pull on the bias. Secure this with some elastic at the groove on the block, which will give the piece a smoother finish at the edges. Add a liberal amount of stiffener. Take the Ostrich Pom and cut off the base to release all the individual fronds. Put a few aside until later. Lay these on the blocked Sinamay and add a couple of the Coque Feathers to give a nice pattern. Rearrange the feathers how you see fit, and once you're happy with it, then move on to the next stage. What we're going to do now is layer a single piece of Sinamay which has been slightly dampened, and block this 3rd layer over the feathers, trapping them between the 2 layers of Sinamay. If you have time though, you could block each layer of Sinamay separately, trapping the feathers between each individual layer to give even more dimension, and leave this to dry overnight. Once it's dried, remove this from the block and block another 3 layers of Sinamay, but this time we're not adding any feathers, we're just leaving it plain. Leave this to dry, or you can speed this up by using a hairdryer. Trim each piece, cutting away any excess Sinamay and attach some spring wire to the edges of each piece. You can either use a hand stitch, doing a blanket stitch, or use a zigzag stitch on a sewing machine. Then you need to take the half which has no feathers and block a small dimple towards the side of the piece shown in the video. Let this dry fully before you remove from the block. And you're going to do the same with the feather half, but block this in the middle of the piece, making sure you don't disrupt the edges of the block piece, as we'll be sewing these together later. Cut a small piece of aqua Sinamay and make a pocket which sits nicely into the first dimple that you blocked, and sew this into the dimple, making sure you have an open end at the bottom. Cut a length of millinery wire and fold in the middle. Put this in the pocket you've just sewn down, and take a needle nose plier and bend the wire where it comes out of the pocket towards the back of the head. Remove this and put to one side. Then take a second length of wire and make a simple headband. Join the ends with some tape or some thread and manipulate the headband into the shape you see here. Put this on the head and taking a piece of thread, pull the centre of the headband together and really secure this by wrapping the thread around the headband several times. What this will do is also give some strength to the centre of the headband where we'll be attaching the Percher piece later. Put your headband back on the head and position the other wire we made on the headband. Make sure that the back of the Percher is on the wire so you can see the placement. Secure both wires together with some pins through the fabric on the wire and remove the Sinamay piece. Using the needle nose pliers we used earlier, bend the wire to hold both pieces together as shown. You could use some double-sided tape to secure this as well at this point. Taking a small amount of tape, secure one end of ribbon to the headband and wrap the ribbon around the wire. Taking your time though to ensure it's wrapped neatly, and you could also add small bits of double-sided tape as you go along to hold the ribbon in place so it doesn't slip as you are wrapping. What you could do is do both sides separately, so start in the middle, work your way around to the end and back up again, and what this will help you, because you would have a very long length of ribbon, so cut your ribbon in half, making sure you've definitely got enough to cover it, and it will just help you do it a lot more faster. Sew the two block Sinamay pieces together using a curved sewing needle. I did think my camera was recording while I was doing this, however it wasn't, so I have no footage of this, I'm really sorry. But once it's sewn together, cut a length of bias Sinamay strip which will fit around the join and pin your grosgrain ribbon to the strip. Then take something which is a cylinder shape, and we used a permanent marker, and you put this on underneath the ribbon to create loops of ribbon on the Sinamay strip, pinning each bottom of the loop to the bias strip. Then you could either use a hand stitch to sew the loop down, or you could use a sewing machine to make sure that it's definitely secure to the Sinamay strip. Put the base onto the wire frame and sew the pocket to the wire, but make sure this is secure. And if you can see stitches a little bit, don't worry, because we're going to be hiding this with the flower. Position the Percher, adjusting the wire to ensure that it is centered on the head. So you might need to just play around with it, pull the wires to make sure it sits nicely and centered in the middle of the head. Then you need to sew the flower to the back of the piece using the pocket to hide your stitches. Now we used clear nylon thread to do this, and you may need to sew some of the petals of the flowers back to the Percher to hide that pocket that we made earlier. Take the ostrich fronds that we reserved from earlier and add a small amount of glue to the ends of the ostrich fronds and glue these to the back of the flowers as shown in the video, so it kind of comes from the back and slightly drapes over the top of the flowers. Then finally, cut a length of millinery elastic and thread this through the ends of the headband and tie the ends together, cutting away any excess elastic. But try this on before you tie it so it's not too tight to wear, and this piece is made.
So what did you think about this? Do you think you'll be having a go at making one of these yourself? Let me know in the comments down below, and also let me know what is it you want to see. Any ideas, any techniques, any styles that you don't know how to make and you want me to try and figure out how to make it and show you on camera, let me know and hopefully I'll be able to do these in a future video. If you haven't already, follow me on social media. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Snapchat, and I also have a Patreon account as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.